All right, so we've got Blaise here. Now, Blaise, you've been working with us for about 3 or 4 months now, I think.
Yeah, about 3 months.
Nice, nice. And so Blaise has went from zero in profit to 250K per year in profit, which is crazy. And so we want to talk a little bit about what's happened, how he's gotten there, and basically, yeah, we're going to dive into that a little bit. So Blaise, welcome. Thank you for being here. We've also got his coach Ben with us as well. So tell me a little bit, like, what was life like before you started working with us?
First off, thanks for having me. But before, um, I came on board with owner shift. We had a very busy business.
Mhm.
Um, people, I would say we were probably one of the top two busiest restaurants in town. We're in a town of 20,000 people, so there's quite a few people coming in and out. Have a very good amount of regulars that are here, whether it's every day for lunch or weekly, but very familiar faces all the time, returning customers, which is what we love to see in the restaurant industry. But also new people coming in. And so we had a very growing business.
Yep.
I saw our numbers going up, um, month over month. Our sales were increasing without our menu prices changing much. Occasionally they went up here or there. Usually we went up about once a year. We changed
Okay.
prices once a year. Um, but our sales numbers kept going up. And what I guess I didn't realize because I wasn't taking I wasn't in charge of, I guess, paying all the bills. I knew about
Mhm.
what they were at. Um, and so what I realized was, there was a lot of money that was slipping through the cracks
Yeah.
that I didn't realize what we were spending money on, or money was getting spent on stuff not for the business.
Mm.
And, you know, look at the bank account and we we have enough money to make payroll and to pay our bills, but there's no profit.
Yeah.
And there's business and there's good business, but if you're not profiting anything, you're a slave to the job.
Yeah.
And as an owner, you don't want to be a slave. You want to obviously put in your work and do your work, and work hard, but you own the place to make a profit.
Yeah.
And so we were um, getting our customer base is growing, our sales were growing very well, um, but the bank account wasn't.
Yeah.
And so once we finally started tracking that with our weekly tracker, um, it definitely allowed me to see where money was going, um, how it was being spent, what what we were spending our money on.
Yep.
Is it stuff that's making us more money? Is it stuff that is kind of just extra stuff that we
Yep.
don't really need? Um, so we knew the customers were there, we knew the sales were there. Really, the only thing we didn't know was where the money was going.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's not the most important, but it's right up there, probably number two.
Oh,
Sales
absolutely.
sales are probably most important. Um, if you don't have sales, you don't really need to track your money. But after you have sales, um, knowing where your money's at and where it's going
Yeah.
is definitely key.
Absolutely. No, this is huge because there's so many owners out there that don't understand that you can have a successful restaurant and at the same time not have a successful business, right?
Yeah,
You can be busy, you can be working your ass off, you could have 5-star reviews, you could have all sorts of stuff happening, but if there's no money left over in the bank account, what's the point? Like, I swear this industry is one of the only industries I know of where it's common for people not to take a paycheck as an owner.
yeah,
So this is what we're on a mission to change. And so literally by tracking your numbers, we realize that, hey, there's some issues here. And what I want to point out is that for people watching this, there's two things I want to point out. And number one is that even a 1% overage in your food or labor costs, for example. If you're doing $500,000, that's $5,000. If you're doing $1 million in sales, that's $10,000. Think of it, that's 1%. And usually if you're tracking your numbers, even if you do, you're like, oh, it's only 1% over, but that 1% makes a big difference. And so a $500 expense here, a $1,000 expense there over the course of a year adds up to a lot. And so that's what we try and get people to focus on, is that we need to make sure we know where the money's going. I've got 2 rules. Number 1, is it absolutely necessary for every expense that we have? And if it's not necessary, then I ask the second question, which is it making me more money? And if it is not doing either of those things, it does not have to be there. And so they say that expenses are like fingernails. They need to be cut periodically. So as the first thing I wanted to say, the next one is just when we're looking at the recession on the horizon, when we're looking at, some tighter seasons going into winter, now is the important time to really start to look at your numbers and make sure that you are tight on all of the things that's there, to make sure that you're making the right decisions, to make sure there's money in the bank account. And let's face it, I would say, Ben, what would you say? Like 80% of the owners that come in and work with us, they don't have a really well-defined financial system. Would that be accurate to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So most people don't come in, and if you don't have that, that's totally okay. We can fix that. That's what we do. So awesome. So basically, I want to know, what's life like now? So after fixing those things, like, what are some of the wins? What are some of the things that are happening now? I want to understand the impact that this has had, obviously diving into your finances.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been eye-opening to, I had a pretty good idea of the numbers beforehand, but getting it on paper, and seeing the numbers changing week over week, making, just a minor adjustment, even just in our food order, um, switching from, this product to this product, or um, maybe not stocking as much, keeping as much in bulk, or in other things, buying in bulk to save a little bit more money. Um, but seeing it week over week, it's just very eye-opening, and um, it allows you to see the full picture, of the business. When you're in it, you're in the weeds every day.
Yep.
It definitely is a little bit tougher to see the full picture, and hey, is it even worth staying open? Are we making money?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we can all find other jobs other places. Most of us do enjoy, the restaurant industry, because of the craziness and the fun and exciting that it is. But if we're not making money, profit,
Yeah.
aside from the paycheck, then it's not really worth it. So seeing that, and seeing we are profiting, we were just letting that money go out the window. So seeing it, seeing the bank accounts, go up, that has been very rewarding. And it's only really been, I would say, a solid month of
Yeah.
everything getting put into action.
Nice.
There's a lot of work being done behind the scenes before we, actually hammered everything out. And there's still obviously some more things that we can,
Yep.
do to improve. I just got a new quote today on our towels and aprons and stuff, and it's almost cut in half of what we had been spending,
Oh,
and we
wow.
we never even questioned it. And so now
Yeah.
I'm starting to question, hey, can I get a better price on this? Can I get a better price on this?
Yeah.
And for the same products, you might as well get the cheaper one.
Oh, yeah.
And so seeing that, and that's going to save us $200 a week.
Yep.
And I know Ben and I talked about it, last week. When you sell something for $200, you're probably only going to get, maybe 120 bucks out of it.
Yep.
But if you save $200, you get to keep all 200 of it.
Yeah.
So finding those ways to cut costs, or just kind of whittle away at
Yeah.
the unnecessary expenses, um, is has definitely been a big game changer for us.
Yeah. So that $200 a week is 10 grand. And so, I mean, that is a beautiful vacation somewhere,
Yeah,
like that. I mean, put a nice down payment on a house in some, well, I mean, depends on the real estate prices, but you know what I
Not
mean? Like
anymore.
yeah, yeah.
used to be able to.
Used to be.
But so Ben, I want to hear from you too. So tell me a little bit about your vantage point. What have you seen from Blaise? What has been really kind of impactful and eye-opening? What have been your favorite moments as a coach? And
Yeah, definitely for favorite moments, like obviously just realizing I went on vacation myself and I came back and Blaise had done his weekly tracker for the entire year. When we realized how much the business was actually been able to make, that was huge. That was just like right there. It's like, that's why I'm in this, is to get those big wins. And Blaise also has a very young child, and I'm about to have my first as well. So now that he's actually
nice.
making money, we can actually focus on getting him out of the business a little bit more and spending more time at home, which is obviously something that's near and dear to my heart. And so that has been a big win as well. And now we're actually able to focus, bring in some A players, free him up a little bit so he can spend a little bit more time at home.
Yeah. Cause I mean, when
Yep.
you've got that cash, like, yeah, you can afford to hire better people, better
Yep.
caliber. Like, yeah, honestly, it makes everything go.
Yep. And that's something we've been able to do over the last month.
Yeah.
Um, we my stepdad, able to give him a salary that he didn't have before. Um, it was just kind of a little bit of money here if we, had it available, if we had a big
Yeah.
month. Um, so now he has a regular salary. Um, I was able to give myself a raise, and
Nice.
then I think um, seven people total. We were able to give pretty healthy raises to,
Good.
all
Good.
while keeping our labor percentage where it should be in the green. So
Beautiful.
that was, I was a little scared to type those numbers in, and I thought that that tracker was going to turn red real quick, but keeping it there and in the green was a very good feeling, knowing that we had a little bit more money to spend, and those people that we gave those raises to, um, one of them, he's in high school, but he has been busting his butt and putting in the hours and working as much and picking up shifts whenever he can. And he was one I gave a raise to, and he went home and cried to his mom.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it, but he had been looking at finding another job, just a higher wage job. He didn't want to leave because his friends are here. His friends are some of his coworkers,
Yeah.
but he needed the money. Um, and so giving that to him and, um, really paying him what he's worth,
Yeah.
was something that made me feel really good.
Yeah.
And it was something that I didn't know was possible, because before we didn't know where our money was at,
Yep.
if we even had the money to do it. And especially in the labor market right now, it is treacherous out there. Um, I know we've got a restaurant here in town that they just closed indefinitely for lunch,
Yep.
for the next month at least, because they don't have the staffing for it. So finding your A players, turning B players into A players, and taking care of your people, is definitely something that Ben has helped me with. Um, Training people the right way, um, making sure they know everything and not just kind of throwing them to the wolves.
Yep.
Which, sometimes you find A players that way, but most of the time the wolves will get you. Um, so giving people the right foot from the start, I think is very important, and it's something that I look forward to giving to our new employees.
Awesome. So let me ask you this. So there's lots of people out there, they're feeling like, hey, I don't have money in the bank. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's wrong. I just know there is an issue. And they're probably feeling like, how the hell can I possibly afford to, bring on someone to actually dive into this with me and help me get there? So if you were talking to yourself 3-4 months ago, what would you say?
Well, if your business doesn't have the money, quote unquote, doesn't have the money, you can't afford not to do this. Either you're out the money that it costs, and you get it fixed, and your business starts making money, or you're out the money, you invest that money into finding, your business A isn't worth it, you need to shut it down because you're not making money, or B is worth it and you have the money, you just need to know where it's going.
Yeah.
So either way, if you don't have the money right now, it's a no-brainer. It's going to answer your question for you, whether is it worth it, yes or no, and then move on from there. If it's not worth it, find something else, or if it is worth it, keep going, but in the right direction, and at least knowing where you're at.
Awesome. And we hear that so much. We actually had an interview not too long ago with another client of ours, and she's like, I waited 13 months to come on board, of watching and waiting. And then as soon as she did, 4 months later, business is in a totally different spot. And we see this time and time again, literally, 3 to 4 months later, radical changes happen in these businesses, and it's like clockwork, and I love to see it so much. So Blaise, thank you so much for joining us today, dude. That's inspirational, and to know that there's so much more on the horizon. And I'm sure just for you that the weight lifted off your shoulders of knowing like, hey, there is money in the bank account. This is a real thing. We can do this. Like, it's huge. So thank you for being here. And yeah, if our folks have any questions, I'm sure they'll toss them in the comments here in the Facebook group. But thank you for being here, and thank you for being amazing. And I know I can speak for Ben and just say that I know that we are both so proud to be a part of your journey. It's amazing.
100%.
I appreciate you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Later, guys.
See ya.